Hello, Namaste, welcome back to my channel. This is Neeraj here once again, and this is my channel नीरज Stock Analyst. So, in today's video, I would like to talk that why it is difficult to do trade purely in Rupee Ruble between India and Russia. So, what are the difficulties? Because there is a lot of discussions happening right now that that negotiation has stopped or for payment mechanism between India and Russia in national currencies. So basically, let me explain this to start with. Let's start with some background about the Indian economy and financial system. So contrary to the perception that India is a very open and very easy economy. It is actually it's a semi-closed economy in the sense that there are a lot of restrictions for particularly for foreign individuals. So in that sense, it's not a fully open economy. As such, foreign individuals can't open a bank account in India. They can't invest in the Indian stock market individually directly, and they can't buy property in India or agricultural land in India. So you can understand that how this closed economy is, right? So the another thing is, so this is the background that why what are the difficulties. Then this is background is that INR or Indian National Rupee, what you call currency, is not fully convertible. That is the one main major reason. What is the meaning of this fully convertible? It means that one can't freely transfer money outside India anywhere in the world, and foreigners can't open bank account in India. So there is a limit by Central Bank of India, that is the Reserve Bank of India, for Indian residents to transfer money outside India in a financial year. So this limit is set at $250,000 per account or per Indian resident individual account, which can be transferred in a financial year outside India. That is the maximum one can, for making any payment or education or going or vacation, whatever, buying property, whatever. The limit is that Indian individual resident can only transfer maximum $250,000 officially outside India. So this is one of the reasons that Indian rupee is not convertible, and also it's not very volatile like all other international open currencies, because it is controlled by RBI, Reserve Bank of India, and it's not fully market determined value. It's not open market. So this is the main reason that till the time Indian currency, Indian rupee becomes fully convertible, it cannot become international currency like say Chinese Yuan or Japanese yen or something that like dollar. And also this is one of the main reason for Rupee Ruble trade difficulty, because there is no way to determine the exchange rate mechanism between these two currencies independently without converting one currency into euro or dollar and again then convert it into the corresponding national currency. So that is a two-way if one can do, but there is a lot of then transaction charges and it becomes costly to convert, because there is no direct way this value of rupee and ruble can be determined. So then people will ask that if it is so, then why this suddenly the Indian rupee is accepted in few countries like Middle East, Dubai, UAE, Oman. So why it is not accepted everywhere? So let me explain this, because the main reason is that India mainly exports. India's main export market is Middle East, Asia and Africa. And main reason is that either there are huge millions of Indian diaspora living in these countries. So that demand for Indian things continues to be there, and since they are living there, so India exports to them. Uh, and another reason can be that some of these countries have the more cultural affinity with the India. And apart from the huge Indian diaspora living there, so these are the main reason that India has a major export center is Middle East, Asia and Africa. And because of this, India runs a trade surplus account with most of these countries. Means India exports much more in terms of value as compared to what it imports from these countries. And because of that, it would be very easy for these countries to accept Indian rupees, because whatever the rupee they collect in their, in that country, the same thing can be used by that country for the payment, for making payment to the Indian exporters, means making payment to India for the goods which they import from India, right? So that is no problem. Now the problem with Russia is that India runs a heavy trade deficit with Russia, because what it imports, mainly it imports huge amount of oil and gas, energy, nuclear, power equipments, power plants, certain fertilizers, defense equipments, and other majorly, natural resources basically from Russia. And what it exports to Russia, it hardly exports, in terms of the value. We are not talking about the volume, but if you take it in terms of value, so it is very negligible, because it exports mainly to Russia. It's chai, it's tea, coffee, sugar, and rice, and this kind of, and some medicines, and some chemicals, and maybe some engineering goods. So it's very small amount in terms of the value. So because of this, what has happened is that Russia has accumulated more than $40 billion equivalent of Indian rupee in their Indian bank accounts of Russian companies, and Russia is not able to use it, and they are not able to transfer it because of the sanctions. This Russia is cut off from the SWIFT, and because of that, they cannot use this. So this money equivalent to Indian rupee is lying in India in the bank accounts of these Russian companies, but they can't use it. So there is, as I told you, that mainly people are suggesting that Russia can import more Indian goods, but the problem is that most of what Russia needs, as per their specification, whatever it may be, there, some kind of engineering machinery, construction equipments, heavy engineering equipments. So Indian manufacturers, the domestic or local Indian manufacturers, are not able to provide this quality specification as per the Russian standard, because Russian standards are much more stricter and much more difficult than the USA or the European standard. That is a fact. I mean, this is my practical experience here working. So problem is that whatever in India also, it's many such machineries or heavy engineering machineries are manufactured, but these are manufactured in India by the European and the USA companies which have established factories in India, plants and factories in India, and from that factories this is produced. But because of the sanctions by parent European and USA companies, this local, units of these companies in India, they cannot export to Russia. So that is the catch. That is the reason that trade balance, I don't think so trade balance will be achieved in near term. And because they have accumulated so much of Indian rupee, which they cannot use, hardly they have any use. So Russia is now reluctant to accept any more Indian rupee. Russia has suggested few options to India, including that you can make payment in Chinese Yuan or UAE dirham. But you know that there is a tension between India and China also, and that is the reason that India doesn't want to do anything with the Chinese Yuan. So what is the problem, or what are the solutions for this problem? This is the main thing. So as per my view, I think I have got this two there are few solutions, two main solutions which I believe in my view that it can be implemented, even though it's much more difficult and much more complex than what I suggest, but at least I am giving that my idea about this, how it can be approached, this solution. So there are main two solutions. The first solution is that peg Indian rupee to gold or a basket of precious metals, right? Gold, silver, platinum, those kind of 2-3 metals, a basket, and daily on a basis, that way once you peg it, so that the price remains fixed to those precious metals. And already Russian ruble is in a way pegged to the gold. Okay, after sanctions, post sanctions, they have made it like this way. So it becomes much easier, and then India can make payment of gold, which is equivalent to the Indian rupee which they have to pay to Russia. And in physical terms of gold or whatever, there are ways to transfer that to the Russian account. So, which then can be used by the Russia because it's gold, right? So that is one practical solution which can be in the near term one can start implementing. And another is a little long term and little complex solution is we can make a composite new currency index made of a BRICS currency index, right? It's called BRICS index. This is equivalent to what you call DXY or dollar index, because dollar index is also, there are 2-3 currencies mainly inside that dollar index, what you see on the chart, DXY, daily it is traded. The same way this BRICS currency index can be traded on the forex exchanges. And what we can do is that how it is made up of this BRICS, so there can be a weightage of Chinese Yuan of 70% weightage, Indian rupees 13% weightage, and Russian ruble and the Brazilian that currency of each will be having 7% of weightage in that index, and South African rand having 3% around weightage. So that way it is this is my which I have determined according to the GDP, as of the GDP, last year's GDP, based on that. Even though it is much more simpler way of what I am putting it, but there are a lot of complexities in it, because GDP only doesn't reflect the country's strength, because there are trade surplus, trade deficiency, then the GDP per capita, and then the growth. So these are a lot of things, but in a way this is the basic approach which can be adopted by the governments to start this BRICS new currency index futures. And based on that, then the settlement can be made according to this, because once it is traded, so it becomes easier to determine the value. And then according to that BRICS currency index, payment can be settled too. So these are the two solutions which I believe. But because of all there are practical aspects of difficulties, Rupee Ruble trade won't happen. I mean, whoever that optimist people who are thinking that really Indian rupee is not convertible, fully convertible, and because of these difficulties, it cannot become international currency till the time India really opens up and trade becomes very easier. And for as I explained to you, what are the main difficulties for any currency to become convertible. So this is what I just wanted to discuss, and before I stop, please subscribe to my channel if you have not yet subscribed. And also I have a Telegram channel, 𝗪𝗏 Stock Analyst. You can join. There are small, many a times I come out with some ideas. Not every time I post it on YouTube. There are daily or the weekly basis some stock or economic investment ideas I come out. So this is there, and you can know about me and my services in my website. You can visit www.steelanalyst.com. There are on the chargeable basis, this advisory is there, and my articles also which I write, blogs, you can see that. That's it from my side, and ciao from 𝗪𝗏.